my name is Gabriel Juarez. We're here at Confluence Fly Shop in Bend, Oregon. Today we're going to be tying the Sparkle Minnow. Now this is a variation of the original Coffey's Sparkle Minnow. We've changed up a few things here and there to kind of make this pattern unique to the area, but we love this streamer for all of our predatory species here in Oregon, brown trout, brook trout. I've had plenty of rainbows eat this streamer as well. So let's take a look at what we're going to use today to tie this fly. Alright, so today we're going to be using a Daiichi 2461. This is a size 2. This is a great hook for all of your sparkle minnows or buggers, anything like that. It's got a nice long shank, but still has a somewhat large gap. It's what we call an Aberdeen gap. So the holding capabilities aren't compromised by the length of the shank. So this is definitely one of our favorites. Our head's going to be the Baitfish head. This is small. We find that the small fits well on that size 2. The thread we're going to be using today is 140 Ultra thread. This is brown olive. Our tail is going to be olive over white Strung Maribou. We'll throw a little bit of Krystal Flash in gold into the tail. Our body will be some Cactus Chenille. This is medium pearl. And of course our sparkle brush for the rest of the body. This is chartreuse. For the front of the head, we've got some Senyo's laser dub, and I've got light olive over minnow belly here. So we're going to start off with a thin layer of Zap-A-Gap here, help keep our thread on. I'll start my thread about an eye length behind the eye, break the excess. We'll make advancing wraps all the way back to about the point of the hook. I'm going to tie in one plume of marabou on the underside of the hook, a couple of loose wraps to kind of position it the way I need it to be, and then I'll really tighten down. The second plume's going to go right over top of it. And I'll just continue to wrap over both plumes. This will really lock that marabou into place. Once I get about 2/3 up the hook, I'll trim the excess. Next we're going to tie in our Krystal Flash. Alright, so I've cut the corner off of the Krystal Flash here, the bottom of the bag. That way I can just stick my scissors in and tease out 5 or 6 fibers. I'll tie about 5 or 6 strands on each side of the hook. I'll make my way back to where I left off with the marabou. Doing it this way allows the Krystal Flash to not flare as bad. And do the same thing on this other side, all the way back. Trim the excess about flush with the marabou. Next thing we're going to tie in is our Cactus Chenille, and I stripped just a little bit of material off the tip to expose the inner core. That's going to be my tie-in. I've done the same thing with one of these sparkle brushes. I've exposed the inner wire. That's what I'm going to use to tie in. And both of these are tied in on my side of the hook. Coat all that with a thin layer of Zap-A-Gap to really lock it in. Now we can start wrapping our body. Try your best to get all those ornery fibers out of the way before you start wrapping. And as I'm wrapping, I'm pulling back excess in order to create a full body. These wraps should be side by side. I'll end right at about the point of where I started my thread. Make a couple wraps behind, tighten down, and a few tight wraps in front. I'll come in flat, trim the excess. Next, we're gonna wrap our sparkle brush. And as I'm making wraps with this sparkle brush, I'm pulling back the fibers. That way, I'm not trapping any fibers as I'm making wraps forward. And I'll keep these wraps fairly spaced out, not too tight. Really want to utilize this entire brush. Once I get to where I ended with my thread, I'm gonna make just a few wraps behind, tighten that down, and a couple wraps in front. We're gonna do the same thing. A couple wraps behind, a couple wraps in front. That's really gonna secure that brush in place. And then I'm gonna come in with my dull wire cutting scissors and just trim the excess. Try to sweep those fibers back the best you can. I'll come in with my stone faux brush and I'll try to comb out any fibers that ended up getting stuck as I was making wraps. I do like coming in with my scissors and just trimming up any wild fibers. Next, we're gonna tie in our laser dub. We'll tie in the white first. Put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on before I start, and this will allow that dubbing to really stay in place. So the way I'm gonna prep this dubbing, we'll just pull out a clump about that size. I'm gonna pull this apart, put it on top, pull it apart, put it on top, and I'm just gonna continue to stack this. And what this does is aligns all of those fibers together. So I'll make a couple wraps over top, really tighten down. I'm gonna sweep all that back and then make wraps over top. I'm gonna do the same thing on top. A few tight turns, secure it down, sweep it all back and make thread wraps over top. At this point, I can make a series of whip finishes. Trim the excess thread. And I'll take my stone faux brush and brush out any excess fibers in the dubbing, and it will also blend everything together real nicely. At this point, we'll lay down a solid base of Zap-A-Gap around our thread head. I'll slide my Baitfish head on, making sure both eyes are even on each side of the hook. Once I've got my fish skull on the fly, I'm going to build a little thread dam in front. And this is an extra step to make sure that this fish skull helmet isn't coming off. I'll whip finish. I'll do that a couple times. Cut the excess real close. And then one more step is we'll come in with our flow and apply a thin layer around your thread dam. We'll zap it. And now this fly is virtually indestructible. I'll come in with a Sharpie and lightly go over the top of the fly in order to create one extra layer of contrast. Minnows, Baitfish, Sculpin, they all tend to be a little darker on the top than they are on the bottom. And this two-tone contrast is a predatory trigger for piscivorous fish. All right guys, that wraps it up for today. Thanks for tuning in. To purchase all of the materials that we used to tie this fly today, you can find the links in the description of the video to our online store. We'll see you next time you come through the shop. Thank you.